Hi there, Ptomany, retired astronaut, coming to you today about kinesiology. Have you heard of it? It's what all the cool kids are into. Kinesiology is, and you can Google this probably for a much better, more complete definition. My understanding has to do with the body's electrical system. So we all know that if you suffer a heart attack and they're trying to resuscitate you, CPR, et cetera, they're going to come and they're going to send electrical bolts through your system in order to help get your heart pumping again, because we are electromagnetic. Well, how can we, as electromagnetic beings, harness this energy for improved health and well-being? One of those methods that has been developed and is in practice for some time now is kinesiology. There are many different forms of it. I was first introduced to it in the late '90s as part of my exploration and wanting to find things, explore all different healing modalities at a time when I was I was working through a health issue. And so I was open and I was working with a wonderful acupuncturist, Gloria Nepstead in Portland, Oregon. She's awesome, look her up. And she had been trained in what is called allergy elimination. So in this instance, we were using the body's electrical system in order to improve my response to foods or to substances. For instance, she tested me to found out that I had like a sensitivity, I think, to eggs and to some other foods that I would commonly eat and wanted to keep eating. Not full-blown allergies, but just sensitivities. You can use this for full-blown allergies, but since mine are house dust and mold, it's really hard because at the end of the treatment, you have to stay away from the substance for 24 hours. It'd be really hard, unless I was put in a plastic bubble, to not come in contact with any house dust or mold. So we decided just to focus on food sensitivities. And it all went really great. I had a nice clearing. I found that my diet was improving, my digestion was improving. We cleared some foods that I had some sensitivity to. And you can develop a sensitivity to foods in a lot of different ways. One of the common examples that I use is like, let's say sometime you're having dinner and you order it out for Chinese and you sit down with your lover and you're eating Chinese and you guys get into a big fight and you're eating egg foo young, and maybe after that, when you think about that dish, you might have, either on some level or very conscious or unconscious, an emotional response related to the memory of the argument. But maybe you don't remember the argument. Maybe you just, whenever you eat it, you just don't feel very good. Or when somebody suggests it, you're just like, I don't really want to eat that. So there are a lot of ways in which our experiences, and in particularly our emotions and our emotional responses and what's going on in the environment around us, become interlinked. With kinesiology, you can help loosen the binds on these. One of the more powerful tools that I learned during my work with Gloria, she had gone away to a conference and she was learning more and expanding her capacity for kinesiology. And just so you guys get a basic idea of it, what it is, I mean, if you've heard of the term muscle testing, essentially our bodies, our immune system, and even our physical strength is much stronger when we're in contact with things that we love. The power of love is very strong. So, for instance, we would generally hold out our arm or hold it out, and she would test it. She would tell us to hold our arm out, push on it, and if, say, I was thinking of somebody I loved, I could hold, no problem. And if I was thinking of something that was disagreeable, I would lose my strength. Or in the case of muscle testing, they might have you hold a substance, and then they test you by seeing if you're sensitive to it. They ask you to hold, and the results are actually really, really remarkable. It's kind of interesting how that works. And I was like, wow. So it has to do with the electro body mechanics. And so we did allergies. And then eventually she came back from a training and she said, well, I've learned a new technique that they're now teaching to psychologists and counselors who aren't allowed to actually physically touch you. And this method is a self-applied kinesiology technique, which I will be teaching shortly for use. It's super simple. You can do it in a matter of minutes, and it will change your relationship to experiences and to particularly to thoughts connected to trauma. Either trauma that you just now experienced, like let's say, and I've done this before, like I was at a beach and I was swimming and I got pulled into an undertow and it violently flipped me around. It slapped me up on slapped me up on the shore. And then the wave pulled me back in and it's really scraped up the side of my face. And I was like, ah! I was all freaked out afterwards and I was bleeding down the side of my face. And it occurred to me very soon afterwards to do the self-applied kinesiology about that particular trauma. Boom. I ended up healing super fast. Within a couple of days, all the scarring and everything, all the tissue had healed, and you wouldn't even known that I had been in this serious accident. So it can be very useful for healing, and especially in terms of trauma. So one of the first things that Gloria and I worked with, I wanted to, when she was telling me that I could use this for traumatic events, I, at the time, was thinking, what was the sort of prevailing traumatic thought that was going through my mind at that time, or that I had worked with over the years. And at that time, it was very clear to me that the announcement of my parents' divorce, when my parents came together, would have been like 1975, and they called all of us 6 kids into their bedroom, and they made this announcement, and there was this huge outpouring of grief and sadness and despair. Everybody was crying, and I was a little kid, very impressionable, 5 years old, very sensitive empath, really took on a lot of the emotions of that room and the divorce, my association with it, the word itself, relationships after that, really it was a challenge for a long time to sort through the trauma of that incident. And it was the first thing that came to mind when I wanted to test this idea of self-applied kinesiology. And Gloria coached me through the first application. My experience and your experience is going to be unique, and for every application that I use, it's unique. So I'm going to tell you a story about the power of it. That's just because in this one instance, this particular trauma had a lot of power, and this was the way I like to think about it when you apply this technique is you're essentially neutralizing the energy. So if you know anything about law of attraction, you know that we're energetic beings and we resonate a frequency and a vibration, and we're continually matching our frequency and our vibration. What we're putting out, we're getting back. We're basically creating our own reality as we're attracting everything to us that is a match for our energy at that time. So energy is neither good nor bad. That is our placement that's our judgment of what we're attracting and the experience, both internal and external. The energy is just out there and it's just getting matched, period. We're just attracting it. It's all lining up. You cannot attract something to which you aren't an energetic match. That's why a lot of spiritual teachings talk about how you create your own reality. Even when we're victimized and things like that, because that can be very difficult for people to hear. It's difficult, when I first heard it, and it's still something I work with. But at the same time, it's like a way of taking responsibility, cleaning up our own energy, manifesting the realities that we want by focusing our imagination and our intentions and our energies toward those things that are life-fulfilling and glorious and wonderful and beautiful. And kinesiology can help with this as you take a traumatic memory and you neutralize its energy so that you're no longer having this profound sort of response to it. So you no longer have that vibrating energy, which is going to just attract more of those instances to it. So what I experienced in my first application with self-applied kinesiology, as opposed to someone doing it to me, and there's some wonderful, wonderful practitioners, one of the most incredible of which, she's probably one of the better ones in the entire country. I mean, I've had experiences where they would actually do mudras, hand mudras, as part of the muscle testing. It's a very advanced form, I believe. And I had a complete blast open of my third eye, and it was like I was watching a little movie all to myself within my own mind's eye right in front of me during such a kinesiology session. I mean, that is like, wow. I mean, that's like big, big, big. In the instance where Gloria and I were working with this trauma around my parents' divorce, it was also very significant and powerful in that I was able to visualize myself, and that's the important component, is being able to sort of create a snapshot or like a little meme or a GIF, like something that you can hold in your mind's eye, because that's what you're going to be working with as you release and neutralize the energy. So in this instance, it was very easy for me to hold that, that scene that I played out again and again and again in my memory. And at this time, though, when I was doing the technique, I was still in that memory, and I just walked away from it, or I should say I had a witness to it, a witnessing presence within the memory that allowed me to extract new information. For instance, I was now able to integrate all the information that had happened after 1975. Like, for instance, the realization, like, it's a good thing my parents got divorced, like it would not have worked out for the best. We've all had our own paths to take, and we all needed to develop in ways that the divorce necessitated. Yes, it was painful. No, that wasn't a fun thing to do. At the same time, that new information could now be integrated with the memory, and I could be at peace with it. And now when I think about it, it's like, yeah, that's the day my parents announced their divorce. Yes, people were sad. I no longer have that same I'm no longer attracting energy to it because the memory is neutralized. Self-applied kinesiology, if you're going to do it around big trauma things, I would say, my recommendation, it really works best with the originating memory. Meaning, say you want to work on something that's been, something that's been coming up. You may end up doing, many applications, several applications. It really just depends, as you maybe release something and then another memory emerges and you realize like, oh, that thing that I just did wasn't really the originating trauma. I'm going to, now that this memory's come up, I'm going to neutralize that one as well. So as these memories come forward, you can just do this technique and apply it. Or, like I said, right after something traumatic has occurred, some kind of emotional, some ARG, that maybe you've experienced. I'm guided to make this video, not just because I think this is a wonderful technique, but recently fellow alum from the new school posted something about grad school. I'm in my last semester of grad school, so I feel you, sister. And she said something about like experiencing at the start of every semester, she would experience anxiety and, and different concerns and worry. And I'm like, oh, I need to make this video and I will post it to you when it's done. So this is for you, sister. I really hope that you have a most amazing semester. And here's the technique. I've been talking long enough. Okay, so like I said, you're going to want to hold a picture in your mind's eye. You can think about it as a meme or a GIF. I mean, there could be a little action. There could be a phrase. Whatever it is that's going to actually bring it really alive for your imagination. Now, if you know anything about the pulses, and in particular the Chinese pulses, you know that and in Western medicine, they used to take your pulse. Remember when they used to touch you in Western medicine? So your Chinese pulses all kind of line up here. And if you just sort of press gently, you can kind of feel some little beats. Now these connect to all of the major organs, the internal organs. All of them have a pulse, not just your heart. Who knew? So what I like to do is what we're going to do is we're going to neutralize left and right hemispheres. I like to start with the left side first by holding the pulses here with my right hand, holding the pulses, as you can see, feeling them. You just need to be able to feel them. You don't have to press very hard or anything like that. Just feel the sensation of it pulsing through, just so you can feel them. And right along the wrist here, as you can see, just below the palm here, I've got my 4 fingers. And then I'm going to take the palm of this hand, in this case it's my left, it might seem opposite to you, and I'm going to place it over my third eye. Now, if you want to be really clear about the charge, like let's say you want to be really, really clear, I would suggest, stones, and I'm a big believer in stones and crystals and all that. You may check in with your intuition. You may want to, take off all your rings and not have any metal or anything like that, or any stones, anything that might just fuse or redirect the energy. You're going to hold the interior of your wrist. You're going to place your palm over your third eye. You can close your eyes. It's probably best as you call up the image. And then very simply, you're going to play the image, play it again in your mind. You only really have to do this for 30 seconds, minute top. Breathe in and out. I would say out through your mouth. In and out through your mouth is fine. I like to do nose breathing on the inhale. Breathe into it. So you'd be holding the pulses, palm, visualizing. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Do some nice deep belly breathing as much as you possibly can. Really bring the oxygen in. Focus on the inhale and the exhale, and just really breathe into that memory and just let it go. And just see what unfolds. You might find that it changes. Just bring your mind back to the original one as much as you can, although sometimes it changes in a way that you might want to follow it a little bit because it may be introducing new information, or you might feel the energy just completely discharge. I would say be safe, do it a minute, then you switch sides. So I'm clearing the left channel. Now I'm going to clear the right channel. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my left hand, I'm going to hold the inner wrist, I'm going to put my palm here over my third eye. I'm going to hold the image, the little gift, the little meme in my mind, close my eyes, breathe into it, release, breathe into it, release. And you really only need to do it for like a minute, and when you're done, you can do a nice little meditation, very calm. Definitely maybe drink a nice glass of water before you start, because that helps, energize and move the energy. And another little tip that you can use is you can get your energy flowing for kinesiology by just doing a little tap here up on this is connected. This is connected to your third eye. Just do it on your crown chakra right here. Open up the energy, allow the energy to flow. Try to do it, nice environment that's soothing, it's quiet, so you can focus. Now, once you start feeling these energies and working with them, you can also use kinesiology and muscle testing. Like I use it all the time for different stuff. Like I'll clear my channel, and I'll just get really calm with my body, and I'll ask for a yes response, and I'll feel energy rise up when I think, show me a yes response. I feel the energy surge up. Show me a no response. I'll feel the energy go down. Now that polarity, the up-down polarity, might be different for you. Just, make sure, ask a few times. I asked for the neutral one. For me, it neutralizes here on the heart chakra, and it shoots up when I ask for yes, and it falls down when I ask for no. And I'll do this, say I'm trying, I'm not someone who has a hard time making up his mind about things, but if say sometimes you're like, oh, I can't decide, and it could be about anything. I mean, seriously, like the other day, I couldn't decide what shoes to wear to work. So I just took a pair of shoes and I quickly cleared my channel, and I was just like, yes or no, yes or no. I felt the inner energy, I ran it up and down, and I held one of the shoes in my left hand, receiving energy. So it's a good place to start. Receive energy in your left, you give it in the right. So I was holding my left hand and just saying, are these the shoes that I need to be wearing today? And feeling the energy. And I did it the other day too, with movies. I had a stack of DVDs and I wanted to watch one, and so I just closed my eyes and I went through the DVDs and I held each one, and I'm like, is this a movie I want to watch tonight? Is this the best thing that I need right now? And ultimately, it always works. So the wonderful thing about kinesiology is it can also bring a great sensitivity to your body and to your energetic systems, and there are so many different applications for kinesiology. I mean, I've even tried techniques where, I've asked for the yes or no, and I've just done it just with because maybe you don't want to do, you're in public and you don't want to do all of that. Well, I've even done it where I've just been going like this, and it's, and I'll feel for a yes and it'll be really smooth, and I'll feel for a no and it'll be really coarse. And I might use this to say, oh, ask a question, what should I eat on the menu? Is this the best thing? Is this the best thing? I can point with one and feel with the other. Try it. Walk through a grocery store and try using these subtle forms of kinesiology. Tap into your body's electrical system. Neutralize the energy of those traumatic events and those memories. Use this as a helpful tool, as in conjunction with your other meditations and the many things that you all are doing to take care of yourself. Thank you very much for allowing me to talk at 100 miles an hour and share all this information with you. I'm under 20 minutes. That rarely happens, but that is my goal. Thank you all very much. It's been Ptomini, the retired astronaut. Namaste.